Olivia Bennet sat in front of her mirror, trying to calm her nerves. Tonight was her first date in 5 years, since the accident that left her paralyzed from the waist down. Her hands trembled slightly as she applied a touch of lipstick. "You can do this," she whispered to herself. The phone buzzed. It was Zoe, her best friend since college, and the mastermind behind this blind date. "Are you ready? Getting excited?" Zoe texted. Olivia sighed and typed back. More like terrified. She wheeled herself to the closet and looked at the navy blue dress she had chosen. It had taken weeks to find something that looked good while sitting down. Dating was complicated enough without adding a wheelchair to the equation. The accident had changed everything. Before, Olivia had been a hiking enthusiast and marathon runner. Now, she poured her energy into her work as a children's book illustrator, creating magical worlds from her apartment. Her career was thriving, but her social life had withered. "He's really nice," Zoe had insisted when proposing the date. "His name is Nathan Carter. He runs some tech company, but he's super down-to-earth. He's a single dad with an adorable daughter." Olivia had finally agreed, mostly to stop Zoe's persistent encouragement. Across town, Nathan Carter was facing his own predate jitters. Standing in his modern apartment, he adjusted his tie while his sister Diane helped his daughter Lily with homework at the kitchen table. "Daddy, why are you so dressed up?" Lily asked, looking up from her math problems. "Remember I told you I'm meeting a new friend for dinner?" Nathan said, kneeling to her level. Lily nodded seriously. "Is she going to be my new mommy?" Nathan exchanged glances with Diane, who suppressed a smile. "No, sweetheart. She's just someone I'm meeting for the first time. Like when you meet a new kid at school." Since losing his wife to cancer 3 years ago, Nathan had thrown himself into two things: raising Lily and building his company. Dating had seemed impossible until Diane had connected him with her friend Zoe, who knew the perfect woman for him. "You need to get back out there," Diane had insisted. "Claire would want you to be happy." Nathan checked his watch. He needed to leave soon to make it to the restaurant on time. The babysitter was already late. "You look handsome," Diane said, straightening his collar. "And nervous." "It's been a while," Nathan admitted. "What if we have nothing to talk about? Zoe says Olivia's smart, funny, and kind."
Just be yourself."
The doorbell rang, and the babysitter, Mrs. Patel, from downstairs, arrived, apologizing for her tardiness. "Lily, be good for Mrs. Patel," Nathan said, kissing his daughter's forehead. "I'll be home before you wake up. Promise you'll tell me all about your friend tomorrow," Lily said. I promise." As Nathan drove downtown, he realized he knew very little about Olivia. Zoe had mentioned she was an artist, but had been mysteriously vague about other details. He appreciated the lack of pressure that came with a blind date. No stalking social media profiles beforehand, no preconceived notions. Just two people meeting for the first time. Meanwhile, Olivia arrived at the restaurant early. The hostess looked surprised when she saw the wheelchair. "Oh, let me see if we can accommodate you," she said awkwardly. Olivia forced a smile. "I called ahead. You should have a table reserved that's wheelchair accessible." The hostess checked her list. "Bennett, party of 2? "Yes, follow me." As Olivia wheeled through the restaurant, she felt the familiar weight of stairs. She took a deep breath and reminded herself why she was here. It was time to start living again, regardless of what others thought. Olivia settled at her table, positioned near the window with a view of the city lights. The hostess had removed the chair opposite her, creating space for her date to sit in the remaining one. She checked her watch. Nathan was 5 minutes late. A group of well-dressed people at a nearby table kept glancing her way. Olivia tried to ignore them, focusing instead on the menu. She was used to stares, but tonight, they felt heavier. "Is that a wheelchair?" She heard a man whisper loudly from the group. "Who brings someone in a wheelchair to a place like this?" Heat rose to Olivia's cheeks. She pretended not to hear, though her hands gripped the menu tighter. A waiter approached. "Would you like to order a drink while you wait?" "Just water for now, thank you," Olivia said, grateful for the distraction. The laughter from the nearby table grew louder. A man with slick-back hair and an expensive suit stood up slightly to get a better look at her. Olivia recognized him immediately. Gregory Walsh, CEO of a rival company to the one Nathan worked for. She had met him once at a charity event where she had donated artwork. He had dismissed her then, and clearly remembered her now. "Hey, isn't that the crippled artist from the Children's Hospital fundraiser?" Gregory said, not bothering to lower his voice. His companions snickered. One woman looked uncomfortable but said nothing. Olivia's phone buzzed. A text from Nathan, running 15 minutes late. "School emergency with my daughter. So sorry." Olivia texted back, "No problem. Take your time." But inside, her stomach knotted. 15 more minutes of sitting alone, enduring the mockery. She considered leaving. This had been a mistake. The waiter returned with her water. "Your date is late?" "He's on his way," Olivia said, trying to sound confident. Gregory's voice carried across the space between tables. Maybe her date saw her and ran the other way. His friends laughed again. The woman with them finally spoke up. "Greg, that's enough." "What?" "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking," Gregory replied. Olivia took a deep breath. She would not cry. Not here. She had faced worse than this small, mean man. Just as she was about to call for the check, a tall figure approached her table. Nathan Carter, slightly out of breath, his tie slightly crooked, but with kind eyes and an apologetic smile. "Olivia, I'm Nathan. I'm so sorry I'm late," he said, extending his hand. Olivia shook it, relieved he had finally arrived. "No worries." "I got your text." Nathan sat down, then noticed the group at the nearby table. His expression changed briefly before returning to Olivia. "My daughter's teacher called just as I was leaving. Lily fell during recess and needed stitches on her chin," he explained. "She's fine now, but I had to take her to urgent care." "That sounds scary," Olivia said. "Is she okay?" "She's a trooper, more excited about the cool scars she'll have than anything else." As they talked, Gregory made another loud comment. "Looks like someone drew the short straw in the company charity raffle." Nathan's back stiffened. He had clearly heard, but instead of acknowledging it, he leaned closer to Olivia. "I have to admit, Zoe didn't tell me much about you except that you're an artist. What kind of art do you create?" Olivia appreciated his focus on her, not her wheelchair or the rude table nearby. "I illustrate children's books. It's mostly fantasy worlds with brave kids and friendly monsters." "Really?" "My daughter loves those kinds of books. She might know your work." Their conversation flowed easily. Despite the continued glances and whispers from Gregory's table, Nathan positioned himself to block their view of Olivia, creating a small bubble of privacy in the crowded restaurant. For the first time that evening, Olivia began to relax. Maybe this date wasn't a mistake after all? The waiter returned to take their orders. Nathan chose the steak, while Olivia selected the salmon. As the waiter left, Nathan smiled at Olivia. "So tell me more about your illustrations," he said. "Any books I might recognize?" Olivia tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "Well, my most popular series is The Moonlight Adventures. It's about a girl who travels to different planets at night." Nathan's eyes widened. "Wait, you're that Olivia Bennett? Lily has every single one of those books. She sleeps with Journey to the Star Whales under her pillow." Olivia laughed, genuinely surprised. "That's one of my favorites too. The Star Whales were so fun to design." "This is amazing," Nathan said, leaning forward. "Lily is going to flip when I tell her I met you. She thinks the person who draws those books must be magical." "Hardly magical," Olivia said, gesturing to her wheelchair. "But I do put my heart into those illustrations." Nathan's expression softened. "The magic isn't in how you move, it's in what you create." Lily through some tough times after her mom died. The mention of his late wife created a moment of shared vulnerability. Olivia reached across the table and briefly touched his hand. "I'm sorry about your wife," she said. "That must have been incredibly difficult." Nathan nodded. "It was. Still is sometimes. But Lily and I are finding our way. What about you?" "How did you get into illustration?" "I was actually a physical therapist before my accident," Olivia explained. "Drawing was just a hobby. But afterward, when I was recovering, it became my therapy. Then it became my career." Their food arrived, momentarily pausing their conversation. From Gregory's table, another loud comment floated over. "I bet she needs help cutting her food too," Gregory said, making a cutting motion with his knife and fork. Nathan's jaw tightened, but Olivia shook her head slightly. "Ignore him," she whispered. "I've dealt with worse. You shouldn't have to," Nathan replied quietly. They returned to their conversation, discovering shared interests in documentaries about space, a mutual love for terrible puns, and the same favorite ice cream flavor. Mint chocolate chip is clearly superior to all others, Nathan insisted. Finally, a man with taste, Olivia laughed. As they ate, Olivia noticed how Nathan kept the conversation flowing naturally, never making her feel like her disability was an elephant in the room, but not ignoring it either. He asked thoughtful questions about her daily life and shared stories about raising Lily as a single dad. Last week she decided to cut her own bangs the night before school pictures, he said, showing Olivia a photo on his phone of a grinning little girl with dramatically uneven hair. She's beautiful, Olivia said, smiling at the picture. She has your eyes. And her mother's spirit, Nathan added softly. Well, halfway through the meal, Olivia excused herself to use the restroom. As she wheeled away, Nathan watched to make sure she navigated the restaurant safely. Once she was out of earshot, he stood up and walked to Gregory's table. Excuse me, Nathan said quietly but firmly. I couldn't help overhearing your comments about my date. Gregory looked up, recognition dawning on his face. Carter. Wait. Didn't know she was with you? She is. And she's one of the most talented artists in the city. Your comments are inappropriate and disrespectful. Gregory's companions looked embarrassed. One man stared intently at his plate. Just having some fun, Gregory muttered. At someone else's expense, Nathan replied. I'd appreciate it if you'd stop. He returned to his seat just as Olivia was making her way back. She noticed the sudden quiet from Gregory's table. Everything okay? She asked. Nathan smiled. Everything's perfect. Now you were telling me about your next book? As they continued talking, Olivia felt something she had unexperienced in years on a date. The simple joy of connecting with someone who saw her. Wheelchair and all. The waiter cleared their dinner plates and handed them dessert menus. The evening had flown by, and Olivia couldn't remember the last time she had enjoyed someone's company so much. Nathan was kind, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in her life. Should we split something? Nathan suggested, looking over the dessert options. The chocolate lava cake looks amazing, Olivia said. Perfect choice. 1 chocolate lava cake with 2 forks. Please, Nathan told the waiter. As they waited for dessert, Gregory's voice rose again from the nearby table. He had clearly been drinking more as the evening progressed. Look at him, pretending she's normal, Gregory said loudly. Must be a real charity case. The restaurant fell silent. Other diners turned to look at Gregory's table, then at Olivia and Nathan. Olivia's face burned with embarrassment. She had been having such a good time that she'd almost forgotten about the cruel observers. Nathan put down his water glass slowly. His expression was calm, but Olivia could see anger in his eyes. I'm so sorry about this, she whispered. Maybe we should just go. Nathan looked at her intently. Do you trust me? I asked quietly. Surprised by the question, Olivia nodded. Nathan stood up and walked around to her side of the table. He knelt beside her wheelchair, so they were at eye level. The entire restaurant watched, including Gregory and his group. Olivia, Nathan said, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. I've had an amazing time tonight. You're brilliant, talented, and beautiful. Then, gently, he took her hand in his. May I kiss you? Olivia's heart raced. She nodded again, unable to speak. Nathan leaned forward and kissed her softly on the lips. It wasn't showy or dramatic, just tender and genuine. When he pulled back, Olivia saw something in his eyes that made her breath catch. Someone in the restaurant began to clap. Then another person joined in. Soon most of the diners were applauding. Gregory and his associates sat in stunned silence. Nathan turned to face the restaurant. Everyone, I'd like you to meet Olivia Bennett, the brilliant artist whose work has touched thousands of children's lives, including my daughter's. She's also the most captivating woman I've met in years. The applause grew louder. A woman at a nearby table wiped away a tear. Gregory stood up abruptly, threw some money on his table, and stormed out with his group following behind. One woman from his party lingered to mouth, "I'm sorry," to Olivia before leaving. The dessert arrived as the applause died down and other diners returned to their conversations. The chocolate cake sat between them, steam rising from its center. You didn't have to do that, Olivia said, still feeling the warmth of his kiss. I wanted to, Nathan replied. Not to make a point to that jerk. But because I've been wanting to kiss you since about 10 minutes into our conversation. Olivia laughed, the tension breaking. Really? That soon? When you talked about creating worlds where children feel brave and magical, I was completely charmed, he admitted. They shared the dessert, talking and laughing as if they were the only people in the restaurant. The manager approached their table with 2 glasses of champagne. "Compliments of the house," she said. "And please know that certain customers will not be welcome back." After they finished, Nathan paid the bill, despite Olivia's protests. As they prepared to leave, several diners smiled at them. An elderly couple stopped by their table. "You two remind us of ourselves 50 years ago," the woman said. "Don't let anyone tell you who you can love." Outside the restaurant, the night air was cool and clear. Stars dotted the sky above the city lights. "Can I see you again?" Nathan asked as they waited for their cars. Olivia smiled up at him. I'd be disappointed if you didn't." 6 months had passed since that first date. Olivia wheeled through the bright open space of her new art studio, admiring how the afternoon sunlight streamed through the large windows. The studio occupied the entire top floor of a building owned by Nathan's company, with an elevator installed specifically for her access. Her latest illustrations for the Moonlight Adventures covered the walls, showing a brave little girl and her journey to a planet of rainbow waterfalls. Next to her drawing table sat a smaller desk where Lily often worked on her own art after school. The door opened, and Lily burst in, her backpack bouncing as she ran. "Olivia, I got an A on my art project," she announced, pulling a colorful drawing from her folder. Nathan followed behind, carrying coffee. "She wouldn't even let me see it until she showed you first." Olivia examined the drawing of a girl in a wheelchair painting stars in the sky. "This is beautiful, Lily. You captured the wheelchair wheels perfectly." "It's you," Lily explained proudly. "Dad says you paint magic with your brushes." Nathan set the coffee down and kissed Olivia's cheek. Just telling the truth, the past 6 months had transformed all their lives. Nathan and Olivia had grown closer each day, navigating their relationship with honesty about their fears and hopes. Lily had quickly appointed herself Olivia's official assistant, spending afternoons in the studio learning to draw. "Are we still going to dinner tonight?" Olivia asked. "Absolutely," Nathan replied. "Mrs. Patel is coming at 6 to watch Lily. And I'm not invited because it's your special anniversary," Lily added, rolling her eyes dramatically. Olivia laughed. "We'll take you next time, I promise." Later that evening, Nathan and Olivia entered the same restaurant where they'd had their first date. The staff greeted them warmly, leading them to what had become their table by the window. "Mr. and Ms. Bennecarter, welcome back," the hostess said. Though they weren't married, the staff had taken to combining their names after their many visits. Neither corrected them anymore. As they settled in, Olivia noticed a familiar face at a corner table. Gregory Walsh sat alone, typing furiously on his phone, looking older and more tired than she remembered. "Look who's here," she whispered to Nathan. Nathan glanced over. "Want to move tables?" "No," Olivia said confidently. "He doesn't bother me anymore." When Gregory looked up and saw them, Olivia smiled and waved. He quickly looked away, embarrassed. Their waiter brought champagne without being asked. "Compliments of the manager for your 6-month anniversary." As they toasted, Nathan reached across the table for Olivia's hand. "I have a confession to make." "That sounds serious," Olivia said, raising an eyebrow. "I knew who you were before our blind date," Nathan admitted. "I bought one of your books for Lily 3 years ago. When she fell in love with the series, I researched the illustrator. I saw your interview in that art magazine where you talked about your accident and how it changed your perspective." Olivia was surprised. "You never told me that?" "I didn't want you to think I agreed to the date out of pity or fascination. When Zoe suggested setting us up, I said yes immediately. But I didn't tell her I already admired your work, so you had an unfair advantage," Olivia teased. "I was still terrified you wouldn't like me," Nathan said with a smile.
Ass.
After dinner, they decided to take a detour before heading home. Nathan drove them to the city park where a small art festival was happening. Despite the late hour, artists were still displaying their work under twinkling lights. Nathan parked and came around to help Olivia with her wheelchair, though she rarely needed assistance anymore. They moved through the festival, stopping to admire various pieces. At the center of the park, near a fountain lit with colored lights, Nathan stopped. He knelt beside Olivia's wheelchair and pulled a small box from his pocket. "Olivia Bennett, you've brought color back into my life and Lily's. You've shown me what courage looks like every day. Will you marry me?" The ring inside the box sparkled in the festival lights. Tears filled Olivia's eyes. "Yes," she whispered. 1,000 times, yes. As Nathan slipped the ring onto her finger, nearby festival goers noticed and began to applaud. All she could see was Nathan and the beautiful future they would build together.